Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Just give me some more. Have it in. Give me some more. Just give me some more.
Hello, and welcome to this Memorial Day edition of My Whiskey Den. Thank you for everyone out there who served and has lost someone, but is here to maybe remember them this evening, because that's what it's all about. Tonight, if you didn't know, we are going to be doing kind of like a bottle down ceremony, going through some of the things we don't have too much left with, finishing it and telling maybe a story about it, or in some way how it impacted our lives, or something of that nature. It could just be a story that comes up anyways. That happens every now and then after a few drinks. But with us, we have Mike and Ben, as always, part of the show. And right now, we have Fred Swanson from Dancing Goat Distillery and Ross from Great Lakes Distillery. Thank you guys for stopping in.
Excellent. Thank you.
Before we get going, we want to say hi to Wheels in the chat. I believe he's out in South Carolina or North Carolina. He's out over by Ben. Vito's from Canada. Spencer Mav is in the chat. A couple other people as well too. So thank you all for stopping in bright and early. What are you guys, you two on the bottom of the screen, drinking right now? I guess Mike and Ben count too. What is everyone drinking?
I'll go last.
Yeah.
No. I'll go second last.
There's a lot of pressure. I'm killing the last bit. This is a Ezra Brooks single barrel selection from the Kansas City Whiskey Society. This was the first pick as a society they did, and it was a whopping $30 a bottle, and bang for the buck, it was great.
Excellent.
So if I killed this one, it would probably kill me tonight, but starting with a little Ardbeg Uigeadail, my first introduction to that one was a gift from my father-in-law, so we shared a lot of pours of that together before he passed away a year and a half ago, and so that one's got a lot of special memories for me.
I will be killing a bottle of Lefroy Carchase, whatever you want to say. This is the cask strength quarter cask. I don't remember what year this is from, but quarter cask was the first whiskey I went, this is the best thing ever. So when cask strength quarter cask was the Carchase, I bought a lot. So I drink it willy-nilly. I still have another 2 or 3 bottles in reserve, so I don't feel bad. I never feel bad finishing a bottle, but this one especially because I have one
Perfect.
ready to go.
And I went a totally different tact. I went back to, because it's a story about my dad.
All right.
And,
I like that. Yeah. Before we get going, I apparently was wrong. Wheels lives in the Dakotas. I'm getting all the people, the fans of the
He's
channel.
from the Dakotas.
Oh,
He's here in the Carolinas now, but he's originally from South Dakota.
all right, Wheels, you're in trouble because we were talking the other night on a chat, and now you're just screwing with me. But that's cool. Eli's, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. I'm going to finish this real quick. Fred, I know you're on a little bit shorter timetable tonight. Why don't we let you start first today?
well, I'm and I don't say this jokingly. I'm really lucky because my dad's no longer with me. He was a veteran. We had a very unique relationship. I wouldn't call it great, and I wouldn't call it bad. We had just a very unique relationship. He was gone 5 days out of the week, and we saw him on the weekends. First bottle he packed, and I tried to find it today, was a bottle of J&B. Every Sunday night into his luggage, and that bottle never made it back on Friday night. Okay, so he would finish a bottle of J&B every week. But what makes my story a little different, a little more unique, is that I can bring up my father's image through smells, and I think many people can bring up things through smells. My dad smells like a cross between dollar bills and J&B scotch. So I can either smell my wallet or smell blended scotch, and I can pull up images of my dad, which for the most part is pretty good. But then the Johnny Red was that was his special bottle. You know, that was the special one. That was when friends were coming over. You know, and you had to put on pants. So and then this is the first bottle I gave him, was a straight old bottle of Glenmorangie. Okay. And we tried that a lot. We had a lot of those together at the end. But I think the saddest part of my dad no longer being with me is he never got a chance to try that with me. Is the ability to, for a guy that got me into whiskey, and he was one of those, I don't know if he was in that Mad Men world because he was a blue collar sausage maker for the most part, but he certainly drank like he was in that world. So, to pull me into that world and to make that something that I've always jumped into. I jumped into Scotch before I jumped into bourbon. And people in Wisconsin know what a death bottle is or your final bottle. Real taverns many times will have those glass locked cases with shelves and full bottles and then some dude's name on them.
Mhm.
Mine's Lagavulin 16. So at my local, there will be a bottle of Lagavulin 16. So when the funeral's over, proprietor brings it out, unlocks that case, puts it down, and people tell stories. And that's one of the things one of the great things about whiskey is that it brings out stories. I love the fact that I can olfactorily bring back my dad anytime I want. Hopefully my sniffer never goes and that ability leaves me. But I'm lucky that way. So I am drinking Johnny Red right now, and I forgot how pedestrian it is. I'm like, wow, I'm way past 18 now.
Have you ever had any Johnny Red from like the 60s and 70s, old bottlings to compare with?
Nothing that I would have remembered. Only shit that I would have snuck into my dad's luggage and tipped up at it, as an 8th grader, 9th grader, because I did that. But I don't remember. I mean, I can't put anything to it. My sense is that it would be much more vibrant. There'd be a much bigger nose. It'd be less tamped down, and it would have spikes where you would expect spikes, and it wouldn't be so flattened.
I mean, back in the day, Johnny Red was one of 2 Johnny Walkers, not
right.
11. So I'm actually fascinated with older blended scotches and how black and white is decent now, but used to be really, really good. I've never had Johnny Red older than the 90s, but I'm very confident it was better than what they're selling now.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think teachers, I have 0 issues with blended, and I have a lot of issues with people that only want to talk about single malts. I don't want to be part of that conversation. People drink what they drink. People shouldn't denigrate them or make them feel bad for it. If you like what you like, then you like that. Tell me why. Let's have a conversation.
When you were talking about the comparison of older stuff, I know Mike earlier this year sent me a sample of some 1960s George Dickel, and that was night and frickin' day. Like, it was not even close. It was, why did you stop doing what you were doing? We're 5 minutes in. What the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Like, who got in charge of
5 minutes in?
Huh?
We can swear 5 minutes in. That's the rule.
5 minutes in,
There
you can have a swear words happen without them.
That's
That's
Tourette's alarm
YouTube's
going off.
Tourette's alarm. When it goes off, it all goes.
Yeah, they have a rule of like as long as you're clean for 5 minutes, then they'll promote your video.
Oh,
And it'll go up
like,
to different places and stuff. But if you hit it in there, they're like, our advertisers do not like you.
Yeah.
So it's like phone calls and Goodfellas, where
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The feds can only listen for 90 seconds, and they have to click off.
You still hear the click though.
Yeah.
Oh, Patrick Fulmer's in the chat. Thanks for stopping in. He's drinking some Johnny Walker Green tonight. Nice.
Nice.
I haven't.
Cheers to Patrick. If you ever
I
get
did-
the chance.
There you go.
Oh, I did do a switch off here, and this is when I had pulled aside, and it's like Fred. It's the last of the old crow.
Yep.
And it was my dad's whiskey of choice. It was in all the hot toddies. It was anytime you needed a nip. And when I had gotten into drinking whiskey, he was asking me, like, well, he lived in Iowa, and I said, well, how would you like to try some of this? He goes, no. And he goes, well, how much is that stuff anyway? And it was like around $30 a bottle. And he goes up to the kitchen and comes back, grabs the handle, and he's like, $7.99, buddy. And it was just, my dad could do it and build anything, but it's like, this is just no BS whiskey. And every time I see and smell and taste Old Crow, I always think of my dad.
Yeah, that's a great bottle because I mean, even for I think it goes for about $8, $8 or $9 for my area, and usually I have some on hand, but I'm out at the moment. But I have so many great memories from that because honestly, well, going even back to high school through college days, so many rounds of poker with Old Crow and my friends, all night long till the sun rises, and yeah, a lot of good times with that.
Oh yeah.
I think I learned an appreciation because there was a lot of wild turkey in college, and back then I was not a big fan. Like I was like, no, I will go have something else. Now, age has wizened me up, or maybe things have changed. But even just a 101, and I'll be pretty happy with it comparatively.
Yeah.
But I still feel like they gave me some weird shit back then. Like it was half spiked with aftershock or something. It was there was like something not right at a few of the parties, like this is what this is. I'm like, I don't think it is.
I'm willing to bet you weren't nosing and tasting a 1 ounce sample of wild turkey back then.
Right.
No, that was not happening, but that still. Even if that doesn't happen today, you should still be able to pick up on some stuff.
Quick story.
You can find it everywhere. Every little gas station in northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota has 101. So if you forgot your bottle, if it broke when you started to unload luggage, you can always find at least 101 everywhere.
I once bought a round of shots at the Hideaway in Franklin. It's a fine tavern / bar / restaurant. I said I need a round of wild turkey shots. The only wild turkey they had was American honey. When I wanted a shot of wild turkey, I drank that. It was just.
There you go. Glass of corn syrup.
People liked it though. Yeah. That was the thing. Like, no, this is great. Good pick. You usually pick whiskey. This is delicious. Like, no, it's so
Here's your sugar.
So when you start, like, after you do it the next round, you're like, how about we do this other one? And people are like, no, let's go back to what we just had. And you're like, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess we can do that. All right, I gotta get
cocktail. It doesn't make a great shot.
No. Oh wait, I'm gonna switch up here because then I'll have a story. I was trying to get another bottle halfway down, but since we were doing, it's a little bit thicker pour than I wanted, but it's in there. It needs to be finished. That's what this is all about.
Yeah. Need about 8 more of those tonight, Patrick.
Yeah, again, by the time we're done, yeah. This one is the Crooked Water Regatta Rye. And this one, my dad was a big fisherman, so I got brought out on a lot of different occasions. And one was when I was younger, and we were fishing off a dock with my brother-in-law, and I wasn't paying attention, and I took a couple steps back, and there was a little rope going across the back of the dock, and I tumbled into the river. And he thought I was going down the river, so he took off down the river waiting for me. And I bobbed up and down, like right by the dock 3 times, and my brother-in-law like nabbed me out. But then after that, I caught the biggest fish of the day, and they were all upset with me because my dad was like half in the river, thinking I was gonna be gone. He's like, there's a current here, you're gonna be down and out of here. But yeah, there was some panic and what were you doing? What happened? Type of questions, and I'm like, I was only 5, but I came back to win the day because I had the 3 biggest fish at the end of the day. So there was some quietness at the end of that, but there was still let's not tell mom when we get home. Like, let's just keep this quiet for a little bit, and we'll bring it up next week. Next time we go fishing, it'll be a whole different story. Let's not go. We almost lost you down the river today. But that's on me. I wasn't paying attention. I'm the one who kind of backed off the edge of the dock. But no,
well, I wasn't going to tell this story, but it's appropriate now. It's a thing. So, there's a bottle of Crown Royal from the 1960s, we believe. It is empty. I cannot empty it further, but it means a lot. When my grandmother died, my dad found this bottle amongst the things at the house So this bottle got started at my grandmother's funeral. I came home with us. She lived in Ohio, and we came back to Milwaukee. Special occasion, sip, sip, sip. Then when my father died, we finished this bottle after his funeral. So I never refilled it, but I'll never get rid of it. And I didn't remember to go buy Crown Royal today. I wasn't going to tell this story, but it's appropriate now because that's what happened. He served in the Air Force. It fits the day perfectly. I'm in a rather good mood. Otherwise, I'd be an emotional wreck. So
Perfect.
it worked. I could tell my story, and I'm not.
My question is that a Midwestern thing? Because I have never, and
Drinking at a funeral?
I've been to funerals all over the country. I only drink at funerals in the Midwest.
Oh,
And I've only been past a flask in the pews at a Midwestern funeral. And it's always it's not because we're drinking, it's because there's a story. I saved this from mom's house, and you and I are going to drink this during homily. Or I saved this from my dad's basement before he moved. I mean, there's always a story.
yeah. Maybe it's a Midwest thing.
We're storytellers, I think, more so in the Midwest than in many places.
It's normal to me. I question
totally.
people who don't.
Yeah. Well, and that at a lot of funerals, I mean, at my grandma-in-law's, my wife's mother, who I don't know if I told you both. I probably have people in the chat. She was grandma on the rocks. So she liked having a few drinks. Even towards the end, the staff knew she was allowed her a couple drinks a day, and she was going to get those drinks. And, at the funeral, like there were a couple people had a drink or two, whatever, nothing too big, just a flask. And then her best friend came up, and she's like, "Oh, I bet she really liked you. I bet she liked you." I'm like, "Yes, she did." I'm like, she had a good time. The first time I met her, she sat on my lap and said that Sherry had to find a new boyfriend. I'm like, I like you. I'm like, I like you a lot. Like, you're a hell of a lot of fun already. But yeah, she was. She came over and had like a little stiff. She's like, "Yep, you guys, we all would have gotten along." And I'm like, "But yeah, it does seem to be something, at least around here, where you bring something with or something that remembers." She was a Sky Vodka person. She made the people at the nursing home one time when she ran out. She put up such a fit that she called my brother, and they called my brother-in-law and told him that he had to go get a bottle to bring to the nursing home so she could have her afternoon drink. And when he walked in with the bottle, after it went from her mother to their sister to get it, she walks in, and he walks in and he's got the bottle of Sky. The nurses all at the station start to applaud. They're like, "Thank God." Yeah. Got calm after that, and
Awesome.
we have a little bit in a couple of the families where, you have a little bit afterwards or in remembrance of something that happened.
Or it's Tuesday. And I've never, the oddest dynamic that I had with my wife's family was having to sit on my 3 brother-in-laws who all made the same mistake with their father. Whenever my wife's dad, whenever we went up, I always took him a great bottle of vermouth, either our gin or another great bottle of gin. And then he would whisper in my ear, "You got to talk to the boys. They bring me shit." And it turns out they're bringing him handles of $7.99 gin. I'm like, come on. And they're like, "Oh, the drinkers got a problem with our price point."
Nothing wrong with handles.
With somebody that's 90 drinking shitty gin. Life's too short. If you got one drink that you have a day and it's called a martini, let's make it a good one.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my God. Yeah.
To circle back to something Fred said, you said after your funeral, that's when you drink, or they will all have Lagavulin 16. I have a different stipulation that my funeral is not done till all the liquor I possess is consumed.
Holy shit.
Don't care how long it takes. Don't care what you do with it. Don't care if you're taking shots or mixing it, but
Right.
that's when I'm gone.
Gotta go.
Maybe I'll live forever.
That's a vicious way to end. I like it, but I'm looking at all the bottles behind you. That's all. I'm seeing like they had a funeral and they're putting up like party announcements around the neighborhood, like it's time to come over. And we got one more guest that just hopped in. It's Robert Licorice from Iron Root. It's good to see you. Thanks for stopping in.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
Hello.
Hello, Robert.
Hey, Robert.
Doing good. We're just discussing how at funerals, at least in the Midwest, and it seems like in the South too, in some places, that there's whiskey and other beverages consumed, but it's usually in remembrance, not just in to get completely hammered. Right. But Ross has you say it again, just because I don't know if Robert heard or not. You have a great way to end the whole thing. I like that.
Many people, many times, my funeral cannot end until every bottle of liquor I possess has been consumed. That's what it's done. I ain't gone till that happens.
That's right. Challenge accepted by your friends, huh?
Yeah.
Some are scared.
I'd be a little nervous.
Yeah.
Be a little nervous. So, how's your weekend going, Robert?
It's going well. It's basically been all work trying to get more stuff bottled and on the go, and no rest for the wicked for sure right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Absolutely.
Sorry. Go on.
So I was gonna say, so what if I just caught a little bit before I got on, so I figured I'd pour I had a little J&B in the counters or behind in the counter in the kitchen. So I was like, all right, that's what I'm gonna grab tonight. So
nice.
Fred, this one's for you, man.
Perfect. I appreciate it. My favorite story of my dad gifting a bottle of whiskey to me was the Christmas that I opened up a Christmas present from my father, and it was 3/4 of a bottle of scotch. So I call him up and I'm like, dude, what's with the partial? And he said a sentence that has never been said to me prior or since. I shouldn't have bought that in October. Yeah, okay. And people are like, that's not a true story. I'm like, yeah, that's a true story.
That's awesome.
No, man. No,
J&B was the thing.
J&B.
And
Hey,
I honestly tried, Robert, to go to the liquor store, the one I tried to patronize the most, and they only had handles of J&B, and I just wasn't in for it that hard. I would have gone $7.50 all day.
Now, when we first started the distillery, my brother and I decided we were going to raid my father's liquor cabinet because at the time he drank brandy, but not a whole lot of anything else. So pretty much most everything else in the liquor cabinet had been there since the 60s, 70s, and he just kept moving it from place to place. And so most of it was like Kahlua and stuff like that from the 60s, although I don't think I want to drink that. But there was a bottle that my uncle had given him that was a bottle of a Suntory from 1965. And it's never been opened. So we said when he retires, that's the bottle we're opening. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's sweet. My parents were the same way though. Like whenever they left, people were like, let's raid the liquor cabinet. I'm like, they don't even drink really. I don't even know what's hidden up here. It's nothing exciting. There's a bottle of blackberry brandy and like 2 other things, and like they're not the exciting flavors you're looking for. I've tried these already. Like we can drink them, but they're never. I think that we did drink a couple of them, and I think it was when I was younger, and we did the shitty thing where you fill it back up with water, which not the end of the world with something shitty, but if you have something nice and someone drinks it and they fill it back up, you get a hell of a lot more upset about it. I still don't think they've questioned me about it to this day, like 20 some years later. They're still just sitting up in the cupboard.
I finally got caught 6 years after I did it because my father had and my mom and my dad had friends over. My dad took the bottle of vodka and put it in the freezer because he was going to make Bloody Marys for his friends. And when he told his friend the liquor was in the freezer, the guy opened it up, pulled it out, and it was frozen solid. And he goes, I think it went bad. So that's how I finally got caught.
And my daughter didn't get caught. She outed herself. She's 28, so this would have happened 12, 14 years ago. I met Dan Aykroyd when he was putting out his Crystal Head vodka.
Mm-hmm.
Got the bottle autographed, put it back in the box. It was never going to be touched again. Okay. She outed herself just a couple months ago and says, you might want to check that Crystal Head vodka. I'm like, really? And it is. It's all water.
She knew you were never going to open it, though. That's the problem.
I was never going to open it. But then Beth and I moved, and we're moving again, Robert. But we moved, and movers won't pack anything that's flammable. So they joked. They went up in our 115-year-old house in the attic, and they said, got everything out of the attic except a Nike box of basketball shoes, but you might want to check the basketball shoe box. So I went up, and in the box was a full bottle of Jack and a 3/4 bottle of Svedka Citron. So both Beth and I have implicated the daughter dead to rights. Okay, so we text this picture out to the kids. They're probably, I don't know, they must be 22, 24, 23, 25. And so we've got the daughter in the sites. And she immediately comes back and says, well, no, that's not mine. I drank Burnett's in high school. Okay, that's really funny. And our son's like, I don't drink. So the conundrum goes on for about 2 months. And then our son, and I used to be a high school teacher. The kids went to the high school that I taught at. And my son said, oh, shit, that was me. Do you remember when he got me that job at the Great Dane Brewery? I used to get the guys at the bar to buy me liquor, and I'd resell it at the high school. Yes. Yeah, that one.
So he was a brand ambassador before you.
Oh, every year, my son gets his sister a handle of blueberry Burnett's in the plastic bag. I bet I've got 6 sitting around the house somewhere. All unopened.
I have a quick, fun moving story. I'm in a house now that I bought a while ago, and I had to move from an apartment to a house. And back then, I had a little bit of liquor, nothing like now, but this motherfucker doesn't fit. This doesn't fit in a box. It doesn't fit in a crate. So the absolute last thing I moved from my apartment to my house was this bottle, wearing a seatbelt in the passenger seat of my car, because there was nowhere else to put it. So
maybe safety first.
I'm
gonna kill this tonight too. This will be number 2 kill.
Nice. It's a great bottle. I mean, it's a great bunch of juice. It's the world's worst bottle ever.
No. I'm going to go with the Willet still shaped 175.
Oh, boy. The I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah, but the handle,
the handle is horrible.
Yeah. I was gonna say sexton's a bitch to pour sometimes too, like the Irish sexton where you're trying to get that. That's just a bitch to pour. I'm not a fan of that one either. But yeah, 175 of Willet it's pretty awkward. It may or may not have been repurposed when we were in college for something else, and I just at that point.
Cheers.
On that note,
it may or may not have happened when we were in college.
Professional glass cutter. All right.
Yeah. There you go. It wasn't me. It just happened to show back up that way afterwards. I was like, oh, nice recycling.
Oh,
there you go, guys.
Carcass.
Oh.
Nice.
Just an end splash of it.
Oh. And remember, ABV ain't nothing but a number.
That's true. I'll get it.
How about bottles? Robert, you guys are killing these, aren't you? Going to the
we are. So we're in the process of doing a whole rebranding, new label stuff that will be out this fall. Because our old bottles were made in China, and obviously the tariffs have gotten so high that the bottle maker it's 245% now. And so we were going to, at the end of the day, it was going to raise our bottle price by about $15 a bottle. I said,
wait. By how much?
$15 a bottle is what it was going to raise by the time it got out to market. because it raised it from like $4.50 a bottle up to $12, and by the time you go through distributors and everything else, yeah, it was. And then it was going to be 18 months before you could get bottles again. So we just were like, all right, we got to do something completely different here. So
That's fair.
we gave him a good ride, but
that knocks the reasonable price up to something where it gets iffy. Like, makes it where you can walk in and grab it without a blink of an eye, to being like getting people to think for a split second.
yeah, and it's for me. I never want our whiskey to be too crazily priced. Again, I got to afford my own whiskey at some point, so if I want to drink it on a regular basis, it can't be that expensive.
All right, I'm going to hop off the stream for 1 second and bring James on. It sounds like he has a story, so give me a second. I'm going to pop out and I'm going to bring him on. Oops. In a second here. Apparently, I need more practice working stuff.
Ooh, I'm in the top row.
Oh shit, he put me live, didn't he?
You're on, man.
Oh fuck. Oh.
We're ready for the story. Let's get it.
So I only got two things that I got here. One of them is a buddy of mine that just passed away about a month ago. He and I went up to my grandparents' pond. Mind you, he was the absolute epitome of masshole. Like, he was as Boston as the Sox. He had to park the car down by the harbor. So we go up rural Ohio, mind you. Okay, he's never been anywhere that had more than an acre of free space. And I take him up into rural bumfuck nowhere Ohio, up to a pond. He's like, "What are we gonna do?" And I'm like, "We're gonna shoot guns, drink heavily, and run around on four-wheelers." And so we go through, and we kill off an entire case of Bud Heavy in that day, in the afternoon. And we're sitting there, and I pull out a Jack Daniel's single barrel Holiday Select. Hi, you decided you wanted to be on camera? The dog. And I'm like, "I bet you we can't finish this tonight." Well, fuck, I ain't no pussy. And so we just go back and forth with this thing. And by the end of the night, after killing an entire case of beer, the bottle is gone, and we're both just sitting there like, oh. And as we're walking to the shelter house, he apparently hears something out in the cornfield. Hi, Bud. And he goes, "I hope that's a bear, so it'll please come and kill me." And I'm just like, dude, come on. But for funeral, I've already decided that I'm telling whoever is going down to Buffalo Trace to buy an entire barrel of Eagle Rare, and nobody's leave until the barrel's empty.
That's fair.
You and Ross are in Camp 1.
Yeah, I was gonna say giving Ross a run for his money there.
That's awesome.
Well, screw the funeral, screw the, super nice casket. Put me in a jar, throw me out back, and start drinking.
Put you in the barrel.
It's one way to pickle somebody, I guess.
I don't need all this.
Oh, that's another story I'm not prepared to tell.
But yeah.
Oh, boy.
Hey, would you get back? Go. Damn
Camera
people.
hog.
Oh. There's a
He's
rum
my
history
buddy,
book
but as soon
I
as
need
I
to
start
reference
talking,
real
he's
quick.
like, "Oh, you talking to me? You talking to me?" Yeah. Yeah, this is Albus. He's a shithead. But he's my buddy. So
All right,
y'all
so I'm
your
gonna get
balls
off
off
because
down
I
in
did
Texas yet or
tell-
not?
I'm going to get off because I told Patrick that I had a short period of time, and he's not on, so I'm going to bump him back on. And I think I'll see Mike and everybody else in a couple weeks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. I'll
You
send
bet.
you guys samples before we roll, okay?
All right. Thanks, Fred.
All right, take care, guys. Have a
All
good
right.
one.
You too.
See you,
Thanks,
Fred.
Fred. Cheers.
All All right. Sorry, I was just about to pull myself back on for 2 seconds because it sounds like someone, Nathan Clark, who watches the show quite a bit. He was gonna stay and watch the show, but he's at the hospital with his wife being induced right now. So good luck to you,
Nice.
buddy.
Congratulations, and yeah, good luck.
All right, Nathan, I'm pouring some Bunnahabhain with you there, buddy.
Yeah.
So he's a Texas boy, lives just south of us. So
Yeah, so good luck with that, and good luck with the sleep afterwards. I mean that legitimately, not just because I have a 2.5-year-old. Yeah.
What sleep? Kiss that baby goodbye. No sleep.
But I am going to be on to a different bottle here in a second that I have to kill. And I think I'm going to work my way over to, the Journeyman Distillery's Featherbone. Which reminds me of a story I probably can't tell on the air, so we're just gonna leave that one go. The whole feather experience reminds me of someone from my past, so we'll leave it at that.
have you guys been to Journeyman yet? Have you?
I have not been over there yet.
Long time ago, though.
They have a restaurant there that supposedly is pretty fantastic too. On top of everything, so they would have been here, and I've got invited up there, but I haven't made my way up there quite yet.
I've heard good things about it too.
Bilberry Gin. I don't know. Last time I had their whiskey was 4 years ago, so I won't comment on that because
Lifetime ago.
But they make a gin with English blueberries, which is amazing. So their Black Hearts Bilberry Gin is very good.
That sounds exciting. We're
They have a
starting
whole
to,
still dedicated just to gin. It's just a little tiny still. All it does is make gin, and it's quite nice.
we're starting to branch out into some other flavors besides whiskey. Slowly but surely, we're getting into some other things. We're going to start gin. My problem is that I was brought up with, and probably part of my my mother and father's issue, because they only had it every now and then, was the gin I had tasted like friggin' pine sol when I had it. It was not
Rail gin.
Yeah, it was not anything exciting. My mom tricked me. I thought I was at a aunt and uncle's wedding anniversary, and I showed up late because I was working, and my mom handed me off a drink, and I was not quite 21 yet, but she knew that, I went to college parties and had girlfriends in college, and so I was going to stuff like that. And by about the third time she tried to hand me one of her drinks, I was like, this is awful. Is this a trap? I feel like you're trying to trick me into to drinking. I don't feel right about this. Like, what's going on? She's like, no, I just don't want it. And I'm like, well, no one should want this. So I tried to push it off to my dad, and he's like, oh no, you have it. And then it was terrible. And that's just the memory I have, is just this horrible, just pine salt, like basically like you licked a car air freshener was what it was. And that just put me off to gin for like the longest time. Now I've come to find out that there are more exciting things since then that come out from gin, but it was bad. It was just, and I think a lot of people kind of have that experience where you're like, you got stuck with the rail gin, and you're like, I don't know if I want to go back there ever again.
I do have. Oh, go ahead.
I would say my problem with gin goes back to a big party I was at one time, a nice kegger back in the college days. And it was actually the night before Easter. And some of you may know my father was a pastor. So I'm off getting hammered at a keg party, and a buddy of mine pulls me over and says, hey, let's shoot some gin. So I proceed to take several shots of gin with him, and I don't remember much after that, except for waking up at home, throwing up in the floor. And my parents walking in and saying, looking at me and going, oh, you're drunk. I said, I ain't drank shit. Trying to crawl in the bathroom.
It was food poisoning. It's always
food
poisoning.
Always.
Food poisoning can be very disorienting, I've heard.
Yeah. Terrible stuff.
To briefly circle back, pulled out my reference, my rum book here.
Nice.
And this isn't the only place, but Admiral Vernon Nelson. Never heard of Admiral Nelson. He died abroad, and he was due a proper burial back home in Europe. So they put him in a cask of rum to preserve him. And when he got home, the cask was empty. There's a lot more to it. There's not time to discuss it. And I'm a little drunk and can't fully say it. But yeah, so there is a legend of Admiral Nelson dying abroad, being put in a rum cask to preserve him to get a proper burial back in the UK. But no, because sailors are thirsty. So.
I hope they announced that in the newspaper or something, and just everybody's reaction would have been fantastic.
I'm not giving anyone homework, but your homework trying to read more about Admiral Nelson as dry.
See, I went straight to zombie Admiral Nelson, drank all the rum is what I went to. But
Right. I'll buy into that.
Yeah, but I don't know. That'd just be. How about this? I totally believe it, and I'm not gonna say if I were on a ship for months that I might not take some because I've tried some fucked up shit in my life. So I think that easily could have happened, but it's one of those things that you look back at afterwards and you start to reflect on what you did. And you're like, this is. I don't even know if I should tell the priest. I just don't know if I should tell him about this whole experience. I feel like he's going to look down on me if we discuss this, but I should be forgiven for it. So,
There's a bar in Alaska, I think, that has you can take shots with the petrified or the amputated toes.
Oh,
in
the
Why? And they got like on the bar, and a lot of them are really old. And then people will donate, lose a toe to frostbite or something, they'll donate it to the bar. And so there's certain prizes or something you get. So one, if you take the shot, another if you let the toe touch your lips, and then a third one if you actually take it in your mouth with with the whiskey.
Well, at
I know
some
the
my
one you're
funeral.
talking about.
Yeah.
There's something like if you suck the whiskey that's in the toe out,
Yeah.
man, those Alaskan health officials are just slacking. Good Lord.
Hey, you can Google that. There's a number of articles on it. I think it's even been in like Men's Health magazine and stuff like that. They've covered that place several times.
Yeah, that's not good. But on that note, I'm going to step off for a second again. We're going to bring on Alan Bishop from French Lick.
Oh,
He's out there. You're popping that one. See, I was hoping we would get you to drink the expensive stuff. That was the whole point, was to poke people into the cabinet to finishing things. I like that.
Okay, my second bottle is 2011
Some
birthday.
ribs.
Nice.
If Alan's getting on, I better get something good.
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
How you doing, Alan?
Alan!
Not too bad. Yourself?
Doing
well?
pretty good. Doing pretty good.
LIVIN.
We're waiting for your story.
Yeah, man.
No pressure.
No pressure. No pressure. Yeah. I'm trying out my new old podcast equipment. I dug out all my old musician shit from years ago and managed to find a mixing board and the coolest set of Pioneer headphones that were made in 1980 that smell like marijuana my dad smoked for years while he was listening to Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon. So still going with the coolest headphones out there right now. Well, hell, I got to find what I even had.
You're
Where'd
going
it
to
go?
contact tie off
Shit.
of the headphones.
Right. Give me just 1 second, guys. I got to grab something. I apologize. I'll be right back. Talk trash about me if you want while I'm gone.
Good.
This guy, Alan.
I heard Indiana's the North. That's what I
This
heard.
fucking guy.
I want to know who had some good barbecue today, because I'm enjoying some right now.
What made you bring that up?
I got all because his little fat ass is eating right now.
All right. I think I'm good now. So, breaking the rules slightly here. I don't have one that I'm going to finish because I have to work tomorrow. But I do have a cool one. It's not official, as you can see. So, this is the last jar of what I made before I started in the legal industry. This is my grandfather, Ben Wilson's recipe. This is also the last jar that I got to share with my brother, Brad Foster, before he passed away about a month ago. And Brad was one of the coolest dudes you would ever know in your entire life, man. He'd do anything for anybody. He'd give you the shirt off of his back for anybody. And everything I've ever made, when I had a chance to catch up with my buddy Brad, he would come to the house and we'd sit down on a little table on the porch and we'd enjoy it together. And so this is the last thing I got to enjoy with him before he passed away. So I wanted to share that with everybody because I think it's cool. It's just straight corn whiskey is what it is. It's not a sugar shine or anything. It's the last thing we ever got to drink together. And I wanted to share it with you guys because I knew you guys would appreciate that. And the other
That's awesome.
really cool thing is Brad was a woodworker and he was excellent at it. He was making all kinds of stuff and he was getting crazy excited about building stuff out of barrel staves. And so I was getting him some old barrels and I actually gave him some of my old, some of my old mash barrels from when I was distilling at home. And he turned those into several different things. But one of the coolest things he did is he made these little wooden shot glasses out of barrel staves. And so that's actually made out of one of the barrels that I use to mash in this whiskey with. And it's got his little mark on the bottom of it.
It's making
So these were
Robert just got real interested real fast.
right. These were going to go into our gift shop at Spirits of French Lick. And Brad unfortunately passed before that could happen. So I'm going to drink the last whiskey that I drank with him out of the shot glass that he made for me, out of the mash barrel that I made the whiskey in, which I think is cooler than putting anything commercial on here that I can think of. So
That is.
Here.
That's awesome.
This is very real. This is a very real
Yeah.
conversation. That
right.
it's good.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to have.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Chaim.
Behind.
And that's for my brother Brad and my grandpa Penn Wilson. So, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You had some good stories on here tonight?
Yeah.
So far, so good. Yeah, man.
It's good. Whiskey brings out the good stories
Yep.
and the bad ones and the embarrassing ones, but you know.
Plenty of embarrassing.
That's not
Mostly that.
I'll give you a good
I
one.
mean,
All right, I'll
this
give you
is
a
the
funny
reason
one.
I learned to pick locks.
I'll give you a funny one. And I'm not going to mention his name. If people want to know who it is, I'm sure I've mentioned it at some point in time before. It wouldn't be hard to figure out. He wouldn't be offended. But a couple years ago, me and one of my best friends made some rice whiskey at the house. It was cold outside. And I don't have any of that or I'd be drinking it. We destroyed it. We called it our working whiskey. We drank it when we were on the farm. And we proceeded to get incredibly plastered, as tends to happen when you're drinking homemade whiskey, or any whiskey for that matter. But for some reason, moonshine more than anything else, it seems like. We were talking, we were up at my mom and dad's place. We were in a little spare room that's kind of built onto the porch there. Proceeded to get just completely tore down, colder than hell outside, chain smoking. Went outside, we're talking on the ramp or something. Now, earlier in the night, bear in mind I'm drunk. My parents' porch is a wooden porch, and they have a ramp on it because my dad has a hard time walking. It's a wooden ramp. I'm a man, so I piss outside. Now, I'm not paying attention to where I piss at. I pissed on the ramp. Okay? I heard the laugh. Somebody sees where this is headed. So,
Oh yeah.
having pissed on the ramp, my friend gets ready to walk down the ramp, slips in it, in the frozen piss, lands right in it. It hadn't rained or anything. He's drunk. He forgot that I peed there. And he's laying there. And as he's laying there, he's like, he looks up at me and he's touching where the ice was, right? And he's looking up at the sky. And what the hell? What the hell is it? It didn't rain. What is this? Right? It's like this, like something out of Lord of the Flies, guys. You can't make this stuff up, right? And I want to tell him. You want to tell him because he's your buddy, right? But when you're laughing that hard, you can't tell him because I can't get any. No noises are coming out of my mouth except for laughter. I can't stop laughing long enough to be like, "Hey, buddy, you're not gonna want to do that. That's piss, buddy. That's piss is what that is." And I couldn't get it out.
Uh-oh.
No.
Oh. I think he did that on purpose.
That's a
Why,
walk-off.
why he's gone, I got to brag on him a
He's
little
like,
bit.
I'm out.
Mic drop.
Alan, more than probably any other distiller I've met, is one of the most like philosophical distillers in the industry right now. Besides being one of the most knowledgeable ones, if anybody out there has a chance and you want to learn, especially about sour mashing and some of the history of distilling, look at Alan's. It's the Alchemist Cabinet. It's a blog that he does, and the writings he did on the history of sour mash, what sour mash is, how that impacts flavor versus sweet mash, and everything like that. Go out and read that because it is one of the most interesting articles you'll ever see.
I second that. The Ode to a Pot Still is brilliant too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's really good.
Yeah.
I got kicked off. I thought you guys kicked me off. I'm like, what? I just told a pee story. That's all I did.
Facebook knew what you were doing.
You crossed
Yeah.
the
They
line,
did.
mister.
It wasn't us. It was YouTube
Right.
that said, fuck. You hold on.
So
Peace
to
stories
finish
aren't
the pee
bad.
story real quick, the long and short of it is he realized what happened, and the look of horror on his face. I wouldn't take $3 million for that memory right now. And I can always be like, hey, dude, you remember that time you played in my pee? I tried to tell you, but you were determined that you had to touch it for some reason. I don't know what was going on with that. So,
Yeah,
how about you guys about it?
Sour mash and sweet mash, but I'm kind of drunk, so
Another day. But again, Alan's one of the most knowledgeable people, especially on those sorts of subjects. That there's not another craft distiller out there that knows more than he does on that topic.
I appreciate that for sure, greatly. I'm anxious to get on here and share my wrestling knowledge soon.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Oh, it's
pro
on.
wrestling or like
Yes.
that's a whole nother night. We had our one friend Steven on who worked for the WCW for a while, and we had a wrestling stream. So we
That's
were going
awesome.
to have another one and discuss things. As I think the next show we were going to do is a tag team, where it was a tag show, discussions about tag teams and or stories you have about something like that, which I do have one.
That's wrestling tag teams, Alan.
Yes, wrestling tag teams.
Just in
And
case.
then also to incorporate the whiskey into the evening, it was, a 2 whiskey blend that you came up with for the evening that you thought was pretty tight. Like what's a good little two whiskey blend, and then the rest of it's just shit talking and discussing wrestling. So it's got potential. I have one that involves my mother, and it's the Brainbusters' fault, and I'm going to leave it at that till we have that show.
So we just went to tag teaming, and then you started talking about your mom.
Not like that.
It's Wisconsin, man.
That's what friends do. They
Oh my god!
they make your mom jokes and they let you trip on your own pee.
My goodness, you Northerners! Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Not only Alabama, but good grief.
Fredno
I
versus
have to
Dave
say that I'm
Pickerel.
really surprised when you were talking about branching out into other spirits that you were going to gin first. I mean, I've everything I always hear about the Wisconsin folk is that you guys are all about the brandy. So I'm kind of surprised that wasn't a natural extension where you were going.
It is, but I already played in that for a while, so that's not quite fair. And I want to include Mike and Ben and part of the trip with it. So I mean, it is. I don't know.
Yeah, we've been exploring rum some already, and we'll keep doing that. But I think gin's kind of going to be the new frontier for all of us, really.
Yeah. All of us, like I said, had that pine tree licking experience where we're hoping to be wildly surprised.
Blatant. It is. I'll call it blatant ass kissing, but I bought a bottle of the Iron Root gin when I was down there, and that's really good. If you don't like smelling your great aunt at Christmas time like most of the other gins, it's like it's nice, it's pleasant, and I'm not I'm not in a T-top Camaro with the big pine tree hanging from the rearview mirror. It's really, really good gin.
It's weird, I've heard that those Iron Root guys kind of know what they're doing. It's
Maybe.
I mean, they don't look like it, but they for sure
Definitely.
they luck into some stuff for sure.
I hear you fake it till you make it. It's more of a
Right. That's what I find myself doing every day. Just waking up going, I can't believe people are still falling for this shit.
I'm just trying to force this swill down all the time. I mean,
Right.
Oh, it's
Right.
Four Roses. That's what I was going to ask. What you're finishing?
Ooh.
Single
Nice.
barrel, I'm guessing.
This is a specially selected by Buy Right Liquor, but OBSQ, 11 years, 3 months. I don't remember where I got this, but my Four Roses shelf is all Q or get the fuck out. That's my my professional opinion of.
And
Four Roses.
that's the one that switched me from just drinking Jack Daniels before shows to actually starting to appreciate whiskey was the single barrel Four Roses. We're like, oh, we're going out to a show. It's a good show. Let's have something exciting. So we would have the good whiskey for a good show, and then kind of branched off into enjoying everything else. So I do have a little affinity for the Four Roses single barrel. So
If
Jump
it's the
into-
Q recipe.
trying to down some Wyoming whiskey
good.
Oh,
at the moment. And that one for me, this is a little bit more recent. I'd gotten into the whiskey tribe a little bit over a year ago, almost a year and a half ago. And one of the first friendships I made there was this guy, Stewart, out of Wyoming. And I had shared I think shared a post on there, having a bottle of the Wyoming and some of my tasting notes or whatever. And he jumped in, we started commenting back and forth, and we just immediately struck up this friendship. And it's been really good. So that's what I would say, for me, a Wyoming whiskey, I'm going to think of Stewart because the friendship we've had, and we both kind of helped each other through some rough times over the last year and a half. And we've exchanged some bottles back and forth, and, just an amazing guy. And that's, for me, whiskey, friendship, that's what it's all about. So
That's what it's there for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this goes back to earlier tonight where, it's not the best, it's the memories. My Crown Royal and,
Yeah.
J&B and Johnny Red. It's
Yeah.
Quality
hard to
doesn't
get in the
matter.
past.
yeah.
Somebody needs to break it out because somebody's got to have a bottle of it laying around somewhere, and it's not even spirits. But they're the best stories, especially the best adolescent stories, always revolve around Mad Dog 2020. The best and the worst stories. There ain't nobody on this show right now that don't have a Mad Dog 2020 story somewhere, and it probably ends with someone puking, wrecking a scooter, and or eating ramen noodles, if not all three in one night.
I did not wreck a scooter, but at Jackie Noiser's house in high school, I did end up drinking out of her mom's water fountain, which was like one of those stone Zen fountains that came out. I ended up drinking out of that because I was so thirsty and was not all there at that moment. So yes, that did happen.
Buddy of mine wrecked a scooter. But my first time actually getting very intoxicated involved Mad Dog 2020. And I still remember laying on the floor praying to God if he could get me through this night, I'd never do it again.
And,
Yeah,
and
we
see,
had-
here you are drinking this
Yeah.
evening.
Here's
had,
unanswered prayers.
A gentleman who would buy alcohol for us when we were too young to drink, and me and a good friend of mine. But he he'd tell you, bring me $40 or whatever, and tell me what you want. Well, he'd never get you what you wanted. He'd get whatever was cheapest because he'd spend the rest of the money on what he wanted. So we ended up with a lot of Mad Dog 2020 and peppermint schnapps. And so one night we got drunk and we took the scooter out and we wrecked it twice. It was still running. We got out on the highway about 5-6 miles away. Just dumb. 5-6 miles away from his house, and the thing ran out of gas. And so we're trying to, walk down the highway at 3:00 in the morning with this damn scooter, pushing it back. And at the time he was on probation, and every car that was coming, we thought for sure was a cop. So I vaguely remember like picking this stupid scooter up and throwing it over a fence and we're trying to climb over a fence to hide from the potential cop that's coming. The fence breaks. I fell through the fence, fell in a creek at one point in time. Finally, this truckload of construction workers comes through, and they can tell. This is like 7 o'clock in the morning, and we're both hungover, and they can tell something's up. Like, hey, where you headed to? And they gave us a ride about 3/4 of the way back, thankfully. And then about 8 o'clock that morning, we ate ramen noodles, and I'd say by about 10 o'clock that morning, we were probably both throwing them back up. So everybody's got a Mad Dog 2020 story. There ain't no shame in it. You just don't do it no more.
I think mine revolves being in a car that was pulled over. It was a friend's car. I was in the very, very back, huddled around a subwoofer. And the police officer asked me if I was trying to make love to the speaker in the back, and I just responded to him that I really loved music. So,
just making things worse.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
What's everyone drinking right now?
So
I got
same.
Avalor.
I switched over. This is a double bottle down. Goes along with your Four Roses. So 4 years ago or so, a friend of mine gave me some bottles of whiskey. My dad had passed away, and my wife had got diagnosed with cancer. So my buddy gave me some bottles. And he goes, "Here, man, take these, commiserate with them, trade them off, sell them, do whatever is most appropriate, and or just bring them back to the group and we'll share them." And he gave me a bottle of Van Winkle 12, which used to be my favorite whiskey. And I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with it. And anyway, I went to go pick up my daughter from college, and I thought, I'm going to see if somebody else is out there, because I just wasn't feeling it. And so I got online and found a guy in Ohio where my daughter was, and he's like, "Hey, I want a bottle of Van Winkle 12. You want to trade for a bottle of 2016 Four Roses barrel strength?" And he paid for my gas to drive from Kansas City to Ohio on top of that. It's like, well, I can't not do that. So anyway, I traded and ended up with this bottle, which I then took back to my friends. And every time we got together for a meal, we would pull a drink off of it. And then until we finally killed it. And then it served its second duty, because my wife had picked up a bottle of 1960s George Dickel for me. And this was the new home for it until it ended. So I do have one sample of it pulled off for another date, but this is the last of the old Dickel of the bottle. So double kill, and it's a good friends.
all right, Mike, how does antique Dickel compare to modern Dickel?
One thing, I might have given you some when I was down there last year. I gave you some samples, and I may have given it to you.
I'll have to go back and look.
Okay, but it is richer, creamier. It has I checked the ABV. The ABV was pretty right on. It hadn't lost anything. The bottle was in a decanter that was. I've got the bottle. I can't really get to it, but the bottle's up top. It hadn't lost a single bit, but it was richer, creamier, and just had more just overall depth to it.
The old Dickel is great.
Yeah. Hopefully he's talking about the whiskey. But it's pretty good. And I've got I'm headed back down your way again in July, and if you can't find that, let me know, because I'll give you some of the old stuff. And I was speculating, or trying to read what people speculate about why some of the old whiskey was different, and whether it was the lack of automation, or it was because they were using things that maybe they found down the road was not healthy in the manufacture of it. Or
You're a thing.
Yeah, there definitely was a time period there when they weren't using a whole lot of copper in their stills, and they found out that was not such a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it tastes great anyway.
Curious if any farming practices or grains make a difference.
Ooh.
Go ahead, Richard.
I don't know what happened. Alan will be back in a
Thank you,
minute.
pros.
Oh, Robert,
Yep.
who was it that last time I was down there? You said killed their.
Who killed
Oh,
who?
God damn it! Who killed their yeast? Somebody.
Oh, I can't say that on live. No.
You're out of line.
That is a
It's just a
story.
rumor.
You're on a timeout for 2 minutes.
It rhymes.
Yeah.
Just fucking bump somebody. Now I look like a dick.
No,
That's awesome.
no, he put
No, man.
himself on a timeout. That's all. He did himself in for a second.
Right.
Yeah, he asked me which of the major distilleries accidentally killed their yeast, and I was like, I can't tell you that online. I get myself in trouble on that.
It's like the other good one. You ever get this one, buddy? Wasn't there a distillery in the past year or so, one of the larger distilleries that collapsed a pot still? Maybe, but I can't say anything about it.
Oh, so
But
now,
pretty
you're gonna
yes.
get banned too. You're gonna get a 2-minute timeout for just
Which-
like James.
I mean, you have to admit that is not a super easy task to collapse a pot still.
Dude. Yeah,
No.
that's yeah. No, I don't even know. Well, let me rephrase that. Same friend who slipped in the pee might have also collapsed a brand new 20-gallon still on me one time because he fired it up with wood underneath of it and then tried to fill it. I didn't realize what he was doing. So I had my back turned to him. Literally, this thing had been run twice, man. Twice. Brand new. Had my back turned. I'm getting mash out of the bucket. I've already given him a bucket of mash. I didn't realize he'd lit the fire. He had a funnel in there, poured it in, and all you hear is I'm like, don't even have to turn around. I know exactly what that was. Sounded like a Coke can being crushed. But how you do it to a large pot still, on the other hand, I don't know. But I'd like to have been a fly on the wall when he tried to explain that to the bosses. For sure.
Blake, stop it. Hold on. Just Robert, just so you know, he's sitting there trying to stir shit up. You're gonna get a timeout too, Mike. You're gonna get a pause. I mean, I guess you can guess on the chat, but that's on your own. That has nothing to do with us.
I didn't ask Robert or Alan.
No, but that's just it's in the chat question now.
I'm over here.
No one can confirm nor deny.
Yeah, that's where we'll put it.
Does it rhyme with Bim Jeem?
You want to answer? Or?
No.
Just like a hostage.
Not
Blink
happening.
twice if I'm right.
As
I
good as the
moved on.
Ugadal was with these ribs, freaking Wyoming bourbon with these ribs. Oh my God, these are awesome.
I moved on to the last of my DeMello's cast strength, the very first release. This is it's called a Sommel. Basically, it's a distilled mead at about 60% ABV, and it is pretty damn tasty. And I tried it at my first Distill America when I went there. It was one of the things where my wife came over and grabbed me and said, "Grandma on the Rocks would like this. You have to come try this." We talked about her earlier. She was my grandma who did like to have a few drinks. And I met Dominic, and Dominic is a pitchman. If I can say it the best, he is an enthusiastic pitchman.
Yes.
For what he's doing. And this is some interesting stuff because it's basically their distilled honey that they aged for 6 months. They do it now for 10 months in a used bourbon barrel. So it picks up some of this other flavor. And when I first had this, it made my brain think about basically Scotch, but like whiskey in reverse, like just for shorter time periods because we're up in Wisconsin and further north. Kind of maybe competing with some of the Texas stuff where you can go, here, it's only aged for 2 years and look what happened. Was taking the honey flavor, and if you got like an Isla barrel or something else, was the way my brain was working, was what could, you'd have the honey flavor, but you'd also be pulling all these other things out of it to kind of help kind of accent that. And this was one of the ones that more recently made me think, like, just made my brain spin for about 2 days, where I was like, how can we cheat with this? How like, what can we do to make this work faster up here and do something like that? Cheers to Dominic, because you got me kind of excited about this and kind of cheating the system with like a honey flavor, adding in bourbon or Isla or, a sherry or port cask, where you keep the non-sugary honey feel and taste to it, but pull out some of the other flavors into it. So, and with that, I think I got James in the wings again. I'll hop out for a couple minutes. I'll pull him on, and Sorry, that's just the way it is when you got people in the wings.
Well, speaking of, I think I'm gonna head out here. I got to be up at 2:30 to go start pumping out some fermenters. So it's been a pleasure, guys, and I will.
Quit it, you overachiever.
That's not the way I would describe that,
but thanks for coming on, Robert. We appreciate you stopping over and having a few drinks with us. That's what we always do, and we look forward to stopping down there when everything gets cleared up a little bit more.
Look forward to having you.
Good to see you, brother.
Good seeing you, Alan. See you soon, my friend.
Yeah, we'll catch up soon, brother.
Heck, definitely.
Oh shit! No, I think I kicked 2 people. Hold on a minute. I was trying to do that smooth, and I ended up kicking too many people all at once.
Just determined. I'm going to tell more peace stories if you keep it up, man. I'm just telling you. Right
do it. I'm ready for a peace story number 2. You can do that.
Oh,
I'm sure I can.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's
true. Well played. Well played. Yes. True facts. True facts. He is
I'm on to IB Lafroig.
Oh, 16. Yeah,
That's a nice one.
KL.
Very nice.
I'm not allowed to bring Lafroig into the house anymore because I lose Sundays when I drink Lafroig.
You lose one day?
I lose Sundays. If I bring a bottle of Lafroig home on a Saturday, I'm not going to have a Sunday. I just lose the whole day. It's over. There's that for some reason Lafroig and Old Granddad bottled and bond. I don't know what the deal with that is, but both of them for sure.
Dude, they're mighty tasty. There's only 1 or 2 Lafroigs that I think are okay. You know, the rest of them are all kind of get knocked up a notch, like you said. Like all of a sudden, the bottle can disappear.
Right,
it happens all too frequently.
With the Sunday.
Yeah. Lafroig was my first experience with the Isla, and it was absolutely love at first sip.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's one I like to put in front of like for a lot of my friends that haven't gotten really into whiskey yet. I like to, because I don't want them to be biased, right? I don't want them to look at bourbon and think that bourbon is the end all be all of whiskey, and then they taste Lafroig and it's too smoky for them, right? But if you put Lafroig in front of them early on, you know what I mean? They don't react as negatively to it later on. Because they don't know that whiskey's not supposed to taste like that at that point. So
right,
it's not an easy one to introduce people to, but if you can get them to get a taste for it early on, they'll appreciate it later. So,
kind of think it's one of those ones that's like a deciding factor. Like with a lot of my friends, that'll be something I'll pour, and it's like, boom. Either you dislike it and you're kind of iffy and you're not a big fan of peat, and you may have to work your way up to it, but probably not. Or it's like, wham, this shit is my alley.
Man,
right. I will, on Friday nights, I have like 5 or 6 friends. We get together and hang out, and I'll bring a few bottles and try people out and see what they like. And it's shittily enough, it sounds bad, but everyone has found their own niche, and it's like not everyone's on the same one. One person's a rye, one person's a bourbon, one person's an Isla, one person's an Irish. I'm like, fuck, can't you all be on the same page one day? But the one friend, like, whenever it's Isla, it's like, oh, I like this, and everyone's like, oh, and I'm like, oh, guess what? The bottle's for us. Too bad.
right. Don't have to worry about yours.
I may or may not have a future peat head in the house anyway. My oldest may or may not have pulled a swig of Ardbeg from me today and absolutely loved it. So
may or may not.
Don't let him join the damn cult.
All hell.
Was this straight Ardbeg, or was this your barrel aged excitement experiment?
Yeah, that was as I was bottling that experiment with the rum barrel. So
yeah, he tried to make his own drum, basically, is what he was working for. Right?
And I think I outdid the drum personally, if I may say so myself. So
we'll let you toot your own horn. That's fair.
Yeah. Well, samples are coming, guys, so you'll get to judge for yourself.
Nice.
What's our timeline tonight?
Yeah.
We can cut it off in 5 or 15 minutes, depending upon how people feel.
I feel great.
Or 45.
I just want to say.
I was gonna say it's only 8:00 here, so.
Oh,
I was going to tell the story of Lefroy, but
no, hey,
I can't do it now.
no, you can do it. Oh no, it's gone now.
No,
That's a whole nother night.
It's still written, but
All right, we'll save it for another night because
okay.
if everyone notices, in the very back behind Ross, there's this line of bottles across his head, and I think that's all Lefroy hiding up there, each and every one.
That's all Lefroy.
Pretty
That's
impressive.
all Four Roses. That's all Brown Foreman.
So we all just have to. So we all have to befriend Ross, and I don't want to be mean about this, but we have to wait till you die because we want to be invited to this funeral.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be badass.
Yeah, they'll for sure. They'll
It
for
should be
sure
a
share the end of one of your bottles and tell a story about the time that you're going to give the Lefroy story on the last show.
Yeah.
It's I think that's a really neat idea because
It should be a ticketed event.
My wife is not going to drink this, and my son might, but he's got a ways to wait before he gets to that point. So it's that I really like that idea. Not just the one bottle to share, but like here, have like the little bar behind the thing. Like this is all what you guys have to decide from today. You know, like take this and see what you can do with it. I like that answer.
Now,
sorry,
Pat,
James.
of
Go
all
on.
your friends, I'm the one that's going to get there the quickest and raid that first.
You'll get the good stuff.
That's fair. I got nothing wrong with it. And his story about getting a barrel of Eagle Rare is legitimate because he has brought that up before. When, like a year ago, he was like, "If I die, I'm going to get a barrel of Eagle Rare, and you guys can just decide what to do with it." And I'm like, "Well, I'll decide to put I don't know, like 14 bottles in my closet is what I'll decide to do."
I have a lot of bad stuff too. I'm not gonna lie.
Everyone's got a few things I
Some
know.
of this,
All right,
some
I
of
got.
this Colorado stuff that I've had has been absolutely terrible.
Oh, well, we're gonna we'll let you rant. We'll count this as a story.
Yes.
I can't remember the stuff was called like State 30. It was something 38, and I tried it, and I was just like, a buddy and I used to have what we called pond beers. Okay, like you take a swig, you take another one, and if it's that bad, you just throw it into the pond to give it to the fish. I've never had a pond whiskey, but it was about ready to be a pond whiskey.
There's a bunch of them out there.
I've had one or two, and I haven't gone to that length. But now you were saying
Wait, I have a pond whiskey, and you freaking own it.
Okay, that's not.
You dirty. Oh.
Okay, now I like the distillery, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But they tried something with an IPA finish, and when I first had it right off the bat, it was actually very tolerable. And I hate IPA beer. I hate it for the most part. And when I had the whiskey, I was like, "Oh my god, this is tolerable. That's pretty impressive." Because I don't like IPA beer. And then after it had been sitting for 6-8 months, and I started doling it out to people, it had opened up into this grandma's perfume thing that was going on that was just not okay. James tried. What did you? He tried a tartar sauce and like horseradish,
Hot sauce.
He tried all sorts of stuff to try to kill the flavor, and it just did not work. It just hung around, clinging to him for like an hour.
It just straight fisted everything I tried.
So it was not.
That right there alone made it worthwhile to be on this thing tonight. Just to hear that was that's awesome.
Yeah, that's the new hashtag, fisting whiskey.
Yeah.
It sounds like it might be pleasurable, but it really was not.
Yeah.
Tool's next album.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome. I'm in praise of Bottom Shelf. I'm killing the last of my Ancient Age 10 star that I forced my wife on a road trip through the Carolinas and stuff to stop at every possible store to pick up so many bottles of this. And I remember this was like $15 a bottle.
Yeah.
And this is the last of the 10 star. I've got some 10, the 10, the newest stuff, but this is the last of the old good stuff.
You got young Blantons. Why don't you just call it what it is?
Because it's better than Blanton's
Oh.
and not overhyped.
Ooh.
I like.
It's not better than Blanton straight from the barrel. I'll tell you that much.
I would agree with that. I have one bottle of Blanton's, and it is, it's not my favorite or anything like that. But the only reason I have it is it was supposed to be a gift, and when my wife had picked it up from my friend who had grabbed it, and I looked at it, and every hand numbered thing on it had something to do with the two of us, including that it was bottled on her 50th birthday. So I said, okay, we have to save this, and this is going to be our bottle that we'll just have on our anniversary. My wife did not drink whiskey. She would put like a quarter of a shot in ice water and swore that she could taste the alcohol.
Yeah.
So it was only ours, and now she's been gone just over a year now. So it's now mine to have on my own. I'm like, I don't look forward to it for many reasons, but one of them is it's not that great. It's
Right. Yeah, that 10 star is actually not too awful bad.
no.
Last time I had it was in Florida with that ABV network thing that we did. I think Steve Fonte brought it down, and I was surprised at how good it was for what it was and what the price of it was.
Yeah.
And me and Fonte and Steve Beam and Royce Neely sat around and drank on it a little bit and did some tasting notes on it, and for what it is, it's not bad at all.
No,
it's
it is
pretty good
not.
stuff.
That's we had a friend that works at the distillery, and he was like giving us a note. They're planning on getting rid of this. I'm like, damn it. just one of those things where you're like, I'm like, why do you got to do stuff like that? Like it's one of those things where if I had to compare something I can get for $15 for something I can get for $60, it's one of the things I would always get the thing for $15 and not even blink an eye at it without yes, this is the winner.
That's why I was such a big fan of Heaven Hill for years, because the price on everything was good, and on most things it still is, and the quality's good. They have fair prices, they've got good quality, and there for a while they could have put a tax on my check, and I would have happily paid it because they were going to make part of my check from me anyways. So, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, hell, a company that makes eggnog and puts it in the bottle and it's actually halfway decent. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, especially around Christmas here. It's amazing how easy you think making eggnog is until you have some friends who think they're good at it. And then it is horrific. And it is just like this horrific. Like, I have this whole punch bowl, and you're like, and you can keep it. This is all you, buddy. Like, no one else is having this at the party tonight. Like,
it's a regional and a cultural thing too, because I was somewhere one time and I can't remember where it was or who I was with, but they had put anise in their eggnog. Yeah, like that black licorice flavor.
No,
dude, unacceptable. Can't do it.
No. You do not want anus in eggnog.
Anus.
It's already in eggnog.
Back to fisting, are we?
Yeah.
Back to fisting.
Yep.
Back to fisting. Great.
So if you're gonna do aged eggnog, you're coming up on the start time for that.
Yeah. That Alton Brown's recipe for that stuff is the freaking bomb. And you start toying around with some different liquors with that, and man, that's just hard to beat.
Uh-oh.
What? Son of a bitch.
25.
Oh, that's
already empty.
Nice.
You're teasing at the heart right now. Now you're just pulling strings with people.
It's an empty bottle.
You don't want to do that right now. Oh, it's already empty.
Empty. This is the best bottle split I ever paid money into, though.
Yeah.
So, 12 of us paid in to buy 2 ounces each.
Worth it. Well worth it. It's hard. It's hard when that happens. All right, we got about, let's call it 5 minutes left because there's an hour and a half, and I forgot
You said that 5 minutes ago.
I did. Whiskey. I didn't remember that Whiskey Crusaders is having their 1 year anniversary this evening, and that's my fault. They come on after us, so that's 8-10 more people watching. That should probably be over there at this point, and I don't want to be a huge dick. So, but yeah, we got about 5 minutes left.
You only got a small one.
Oh God, you guys are encouraging me. Let's just stop.
Angus.
Hold on, Emily. Here,
I would love to be a huge dick.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. That's about right.
For the star release.
Yeah. Come on, pop off. Yeah. See, I'm having problems bringing stuff on and off the screen. That means it's time to cut it short soon when the fingers aren't listening. But let's see here. I think I got one. Ooh. I finished just now when no one was paying attention. I finished. Ooh, I hate these cameras. Cole Keegan, just the standard one. But when we were talking Lafroig, when I had their apple brandy finish, I found that one to have some kind of unique notes that were kind of similar to Lafroig hidden in there. That'll come up in a review we're doing in a week or two. But so I was happy to see this one go because, this one was one of the ones that was pretty unique at the local liquor store where they don't always know what they have at my Woodman's, and I totally appreciate that about them. They were selling Cole Keegan. They had all the normal bottles, normally like say 40, 60-ish, depending upon what liquor store you go to. They were $20 each. And I wandered in and I was like, well, I'll take 3. Thank you very much. And they've done this with, this Fire and Cane they did recently where they were like, we don't know what this is. Apparently, I don't know who the fuck's in charge. We'll sell it for $22.95. And I was like, oh, wonderful. I like you. This is why I like coming to the store. I didn't have this planned, but yes, I have to pick up a couple bottles of this. So I don't know who's in charge there. I don't want to insult them. I probably want to work with them in a barrel pick at some point in the future. But damn, do you just put weird stuff on sale? I don't know how it works, but they just do weird stuff like that every now and then.
You could probably just not tell them what you do, so that way they don't they don't tune in and then hear that, and then they're gonna be like, this fucking guy.
Hey, it's on them. Like
this anal fisting dick.
We're gonna throw the Mad Dog in the cart.
Some of the stuff Ross sells there is like $30. So who am I to complain if I walk out happy?
Right.
It's all on them to do what they're doing. But I mean, like, I walk out there happy. So I can't complain. But it is also kind of freakishly like they're like, let's decide to get rid of something. And I'm always like, well, I'm on board. I'll be walking through the aisle and say something and 2 people question me. And I'm like, oh, this is the sale this week. And what the birthday bourbon, I'm going to just be honest. I'm jealous of that because I can't find birthday bourbon. I could never be lucky enough to win one of the lottery picks of that ever. And I can't find it otherwise. So I'm jealous of that one, Ross. I'll just be honest.
Get in the time machine. Benny's had every birthday bourbon for 5 years for $40. Like it was nothing.
Okay. Now there's all sorts of
my best.
I'm angry. I'm drunk. Bottles. My cat's bothering me.
My best deal ever was a liquor store got in an E.H. Taylor barrel proof, and they never put it in their system as the barrel proof, and they charged me as the small batch.
Oh, you feel good about that?
Nice.
Hey, like with this when it happens, you feel like something worked out in your favor finally, right? It's about time something went my way.
And you just walk away.
It sounds like that Art Bag Dart Cove at the restaurant I went to when they had the upside down bottles they would pour from, and they just thought it was normal Art Bag, and I saw it was Dark Cove. I saw it was screwed it in as Dark Cove. I'm like, maybe you could check and see how much it is. They're like, oh, it's $8. I'm like, please go back and check again. I just want you to be accurate with what you're doing. And she came back. She's like, oh, what? You know what? You're right. It was $7. And I'm like, I will take a double. And then when you're done with that, you come back with another double. And I had 3 before we had dinner that night. And my wife was like, how are you okay? I'm like, I'm not okay to drive. And she's like, what? I'm like, but for $22, I had what they would charge me $50 for just a normal double at another restaurant. I'm happy as hell. I'm not going to get any happier for my birthday than I am right now.
You're going to just have to start walking around with an empty 200 milliliter flask bottle in case you run into something like that again, man. Just keep them coming.
I only told a couple people, and they finally corrected the incident. But I did go back there a few times before they figured that out. But every time I felt like I was honest. I would ask you, please go check and make sure. Just please go check and make sure. Came back and you said the same thing. I'm like, well, hey, it's on you tonight. You don't know you lost money on the bottle. Thank God. How often does that happen?
That's true.
There's a bar down in Houston, and then my parents got a bar in my hometown in Ohio to do this. On Wednesday nights, just to get people in the bar, they do what they call a break-even bottle.
Oh, that sounds lovely. I've heard about this in Vegas at a couple places too. They did it with a dream cask recently.
That looks good.
Yeah, it's just something that they've got hanging around, and they decide this bottle for the night is our break-even bottle. We're selling it at cost per shot, and all they're trying to do is just get you in the door on a Wednesday night.
Yeah,
good idea.
That's a great idea. And like I said, I remember there was a bar in Las Vegas that I was doing with the most recent Dream Cask, and I was like, looked at my wife. I'm like, well, it's only $150 for round trip tickets to Las Vegas this weekend.
It's how much?
It was $150, and I was like, maybe we go see James. We'll do other stuff. I know you're not there anymore, but when you were, it was tempting.
No, you didn't just call me and be like, "Hey, buddy, can because I only worked for an airline that was based in Las Vegas."
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it happened, and we had to let it go. We have a kid. We have to find babysitters, so it's not quite as easy as it used to be, where it was like, let's just leave. That doesn't happen anymore.
Just go when he's napping.
Nap. Leave him at grandma's house.
It'll be all right.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
We'll lock the doors.
We'll be back in a day and a half.
Run down the Tractor Supply, get you a little gravity feeder, get you a water bottle, hang it up there. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
People do it in Florida all the time.
Throw a few alfalfa cubes in there. Let him munch on that. It'll be all right.
All right. We have hit that hour and a half mark, and the Jack Daniel's 150. Are you killing the rest of that thing? That looks thicker than a kill.
Wait, hold on. First of all, you got to turn
see,
on.
now we gotta wait. See this is what makes this thing go on every time we do this. Just goes on a little bit longer.
I got one more I'm going to kill, but I'm not going to kill it till Wednesday. So I got this bottle. I'm saving it for. Oh, a twin.
That's knockoff. It does look different. That's all I'm gonna say.
That is why it looks different.
You got QR codes? What the?
Bootleggers really just moved their operation up in the past few years. I mean,
70 centiliters.
See that?
43%.
That looks bigger than 7.
That sounds like travel retail from Europe somewhere.
Yeah, it could be. It could be Russian.
Getting close.
It could be Russian.
Okay, yeah.
Hat for the win.
You cheater.
Wait,
but that's okay.
So what's yours? What's yours at proof-wise?
I'm not good at reading. It looks
50%.
52-ish. 50.
100 proof. Okay.
1 liter. I'm pretty drunk.
Yeah, because I had that one got drugged back. Yep, that one came from the other side of the fucking globe.
Yeah, well, hey, you gotta take advantage when someone's coming across the pond, because that doesn't happen often enough. But like I said, we are over the hour 30 minute.
Today before all this stupid shit.
Yeah, that's true. But I am gonna cut us off here. We're over the hour 30 minute. I think we've all had a good time this evening, and thank you everyone for who's still in the chat for stopping in. We appreciate it. We will have another edition where we have Ross on and we do the Lefroy story, because he has it written out. I mean, that's enough to stop back for in and of itself as a written out Lefroy story. Alan, thank you for stopping in. We appreciate you for stopping in.
Yeah,
Ross, thank you. James, wherever the fuck you're hiding at right now. Oh, you're back. Thank you for stopping in this night. Everyone in the chat, appreciate it. You guys have a good night. And remember, it's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of whiskey. Cheers, everyone out there.
Cheers.
For the girls.
Cheers.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Let's get to the boat.